Alright, this is gonna be pretty long, so I'm just warning you guys, you might have to watch it in parts or something, but um, my first little thing is, what is game sense? Well, in my opinion, game sense is gathering information and then using that information in your game. For example, if you hear footsteps on overpass and you make a decision based off of that. Game sense is also lots more. Game sense is a very large topic. I'm going over a lot of stuff in this, but mainly it's just gathering information, knowing what to do with that information, basically. But it's way more in depth than that. But let's get in this. Okay, so under gathering information, my first point is information you have before the game even starts. That could be defaults. Yeah, so you can know where they are from defaults. And then you usually, since the community is small, you know where each person is playing. For example, I know some people that are good with long range, like to play mid as a CT, and I mean fire suicide in cat. But you guys know what I mean by that. You know where they're playing before the game even starts because you just know these players so well. That's really all I have for the pre-game sense, really. Now for the in-game information, the most important thing you can get is sound cues. For example, if there's people rushing up cat and I'm down in CT, I would be able to hear these people rushing up cat and call them out to my team. You can also hear util. For example, if I'm a B player, I crossed, right? And I hear 3 smokes on mid, which is kind of unrealistic when the round just starts, but it's at least maybe 2 smokes on mid. So if 2 people smoke mid doors, because no coordination, but if that happened, I'd probably understand that the B push is probably unlikely, because there'd be people going cat. So you just have to use every single piece of information you have to you have to use it. Yeah, you understand. You can also tell where people are based on the trajectory of their util. For example, if I'm pushing up long, right, as a T, and I see a flash come over, and I hopefully don't get full blinded, and then I see a smoke land, they fade a smoke up and land on mid doors, then I would know there's probably someone pushed up based on that trajectory. Because you see, if I were to throw a smoke over here, it lands somewhere near that little pit balcony. See, it's in there. I overthrew it, but if you saw someone throwing smoke from over here, you would understand that someone's probably pushed up. So that's how you use trajectory of the util to decide where people are. That helps, but it's not always common. You can also long is kind of weird for that because people like throwing util and then backing off immediately. But that's all I have for this little thing. So let me move on. Okay, now my next little point is space management, quote unquote. It's knowing what space you have and what space you don't really. Starting off as a T-side perspective, let's say you're sending 3 cat and 2 long, no suicide. So the 3 guys cat can just smoke off mid. I know I'm kind of doing extra here, but they'll smoke off mid, and hopefully they'll kill the cat player, right? So if they kill the cat player, then the long players know that they still need to kill their player, but they have ridden someone or something. So they have this space here. All of cat, they just need to watch out for lower tons and mid doors. They have this space all the way to respawn, except B side area. But it's good to know what space you have. For example, let's say we're long players now. I know this is taking a bit to go over there. So we're the long players. We have this space including cat now. So let's say we run up here, pick off the site player. Now we have all of long and cat except CT. So what you usually have to do, just throw a smoke, and now you just have a clean barrier all the way here to long, and you've cat control. Make sure you don't get shot by a cross, but then you also have sight now. So what you have as a T is all of long and cat, but you don't have CT control, and you don't have anywhere on B or mid really. You can have someone cat maybe played back, like all the way back there, and that'll help you control cat more, but that's really what space management is. You also have to let your team know where you are. Not every single second, but at least every 20 seconds, you should maybe 15, you should let your team know where you are. Or more importantly, you should let your team know where you are if you just made a big play. Say I was the cat player, I ran up, I killed the cat player. I'm on this little angle right here, and I'm trying to kill the sight player. You need to call that out. I don't see enough people calling out what they're doing. Because, for example, I can be on long, and I can be like very cautious of everything, right? But if we have a cat player, then that means the sight player is going to be pressured by cat, and it'll be just a much easier take because we can pressure from long, and we can pressure from cat, hopefully killing the guy on sight. Of course, smoking cross, because this is very dangerous. You always smoke cross. Okay, next I have pattern recognition. This is habits or defaults, what a certain player is doing on the map. For example, if it's a 2-2 or a 3-1-1, usually a 2-1-2 though, you can recognize that because out of all your games, you know that usually it's a 2-1-2. But more specifically, you can recognize what's happening over the course of the game. For example, if they're always playing sight, this little sight box right there, they're always playing triple every single round. You can only know this after like 3 rounds in the game, but you understand that they're playing that consistently. And you have to make up ways to counter that, because you know they're going to be in the same spot, so you just counter it easily. For example, if you just flash stairs or nade it, try to nade it. There's not many reliable nades for stairs, but you understand what I mean by pattern recognition. For example, if you know their mid player is always playing short, and then just sprint peek and see if anyone crosses, you can slow under and just go window and then just flood everything. They'd probably expect that if nothing is happening at all, but you just have to make ways to counter what the CTs are doing. This also works for the CTs against the Ts. If they're doing an A push and they send 1 palace every time in the majority main, which is 4, then you can just easily smoke out the 1 on palace or rush palace real quick, hopefully kill the palace guy, and then the 4 in main are isolated, so you only have to worry about 1 angle. But you understand, it's pattern recognition. You know where the people are going, so you can make up ways to counter them. So my next kind of pointish is you know where people are playing best based off your pattern recognition, and you can sort of use that to your advantage here. So I'm just gonna use my team members' names since I don't want to use anyone else's. For example, if we have Juicy and Mint playing on A, and Andy playing mid with 2 others on B. I'm not going to B, that's why I just said 2 others. Well, actually, let's just say we have a B push going, or no, a split. We have a split. We are doing a 2-1-2 as the T's, and we're trying to get a pick. Let's say we pick off Andy in mid, and then you check the scoreboard, and you can see that Andy's dead. Oh, wait, okay, Andy's dead. Where was Andy? Andy was mid. We know that because he played there every round. Ooh, we killed Juicy and Mint. Where were they playing? Well, they were playing A. So we know that we have A control for the most part, and they're going to be jungle, con, or ticket. So that's a little bit confusing even for me, to explain at least. I know what it means, but it's hard to explain. Okay, my next little point is what are the CTs gonna do with the information you give them as a T? So if you're slamming A every single round, then the CTs are bound to stack A, at least 3 stack it. So you recognize that, and what you should do is you should just go B, because they're only gonna have like maybe 1 or 2 people on B, and if you go really fast, you should be able to take site with only 2 people, the mid guy rotating and of course the B anchor. But that's what that really means. Also, solo plays can change this fact. For example, if someone went under a bunch of rounds in a row and the mid player kept dying, they might put one of their A players on con to help out that mid player, or the mid player might go con. And if the mid player goes con, then you can have like maybe 1 or 2 guys go just normal mid, and it's an easier take if he's playing like a weird con spot. The main part is just kind of like mind games, but just like, you gotta like maneuver around their defenses and make them think that like you're gonna do something, and then you don't do that, which is still kind of pattern recognition, but you understand. Okay, now that we have the info, what are we gonna do with this info? We know we know the footsteps, we know everything about their team basically. So how are we gonna act to counteract all this? For footsteps, you can literally just like, Overpass is a great map for footsteps along with Vertigo, but I'd choose the Overpass for now. In Graffiti, you can hear if anybody's running up short, so it's very useful. So let's say you're listening for footsteps. I mean, this is not common at all. I don't see anybody doing this, but you're in just this part of Graffiti listening for footsteps on short. Well, normally you actually be like right here probably, but you're listening for footsteps, and then you hear like 3 pairs of footsteps running up. What do you do based off this information? Well, first, of course, you call it out to your team, and then you might, since you've at least 2 players on A right now, you might go over here and watch con. So then it's definitely going to be an A push, and then if it's confirmed an actual A push, you can just flank con or go the long way. But this part is about what you're doing with the information you have. For Util, I see people throw knives from T-spawn to B a lot, but that's usually because they're going up the ramp and then going up A. But you can use any type. I know I said Util earlier, but Util is very important on deciding where they're coming from. I said trajectory of Util, and that's what that is basically. So you see the trajectory of Util coming over, you see nades flying over, you see smokes flying over. That means it's most likely going to be a B, and what you should do is call it out to your team, let them know, and then you either play passive if it's just you here and you're waiting for people to rotate, or if there's multiple of you here, you play for the site and try to, defend it. But if you're alone on a site that 5 people are pushing, I'm just gonna say, unless you're like Grandmaster, you're not winning that. So sit somewhere where you're not getting shot and wait for Heaven and Graffiti to come help you. For example, sometimes I sit here because usually, monster people aren't gonna wide peek this unless they're taking site, or I sit here. And if you called it out early with all these nades coming over, the people are gonna have rotated, and you can do all that. But you have to beware of fakes. If it's just one smoke coming over, I just want you to call out there's one smoke coming towards B. I need maybe one rotate. You don't want to call the one smoke and oh my, it's B B B B, because that happens sometimes, and then they fake a B or they have a lurk a B, and then their whole team is on the A site. But you have to use your info wisely, because you have to like accurately help your team and not. But yeah, so mostly all you have to do is just play smart. What I mean by that is just be patient unless you can't be patient. For example, if they're all rushing site and the rotates haven't come in yet, then yeah, fight. Because if you're right here and there's 2 people swinging you, then that's not a good idea. You should probably swing and get swinger's advantage. But say you're like barrels and you're fighting this and you get one tapped, that's not good. Because I usually play barrels, but I literally just throw a nade and, the deal's done. I just run off barrels into hell. I will make separate map guides because someone told me to do that. I literally forget who, I'm sorry. But I'll make guides for the most popular maps, so that'll help too. Okay, so that's really all I have for game sense off the top of my head. Of course, there's much more that involves game sense. Like a lot, I mean a lot more. I went over basic sound cues and gathering information and then making decisions off that information. But game sense is on a much larger scale. There's positioning, there's much more that I didn't go over in this. But if you guys really want an in-depth game sense tutorial, I can make one. It's just gonna take a while because my game sense isn't perfected yet. So, but I hope you enjoyed this. It didn't take too long, surprisingly. But yeah. Oh yeah, if you have any ideas for future videos, please DM me on Discord with them because, I want to help y'all out if I can.